and today we will be reviewing the HOTU 100 count of alcohol markers. They are broad and fine tip. I don't think they have a brush nib option, from what I can tell. But there's dog hair on it, because we're gonna have some $4, $3 actually, but yeah. They do not come pre-organized like the OHU, similar to the OHU markers. They do not come pre-organized, so you will have to organize them while you're swatching, which I find therapeutic, but others might find stressful. So, this is what the barrels look like. Really similar to the OHU Honolulu set. And they have a similar coloring system, like pigment coloring system to OHU. But this is R16, or R614, and it's called, hold on, Jacaranda. I'm pretty sure there's an OHU marker called Jacaranda, or a shade that's very similar to Jacaranda. And it always has the Q number or letter before the numbers, which simulate the hue and then the brightness of it. This comes with a colorless blender plus 100 markers. So I do believe you get your money's worth. You can get them on Amazon for $60, or when you round it up, it's about $60, because it's $59.90 something. Which I find interesting, because that's cheaper than OHU, and they look pretty promising. I probably should grab one that has color on it. Let's just grab a blue. They look pretty promising from what I can tell so far. So yeah, let's get into swatching them and doing a test page with it. I think I'm gonna have to gear this into speed mode after a few. Oh wow, I like that. That was smooth. Dang, HOTU, I'm impressed. I'm impressed. From that first swatch, that seems pretty good. But I'm gonna gear this into time-lapse mode. So I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that happens in mouthwashing. So obviously, spoiler warning, spoilers ahead. Don't listen to this part of the video. Put the video on mute, which is what I would recommend, especially if you want to see the drawing portion of this, because this might be going over most of the process of me drawing this, so I would recommend putting it on mute, or you could just skip to the time frame if you don't care about seeing the process of this drawing. Either one's fine. I'm not your parents. I can't tell you what to do. I'm not your legal guardian. I can't tell you what to do. So do what you want with the spoiler warning. Although if you don't care about spoilers, you can continue watching. Just be warned that I have warned you that they're here. So, yeah. Skip ahead. Don't skip ahead. It doesn't affect me. So, like I said, we follow the story of the Templar crew. I don't know if that's exactly how you say it, but that's how I say it. And they're taking cargo. It is shown that they don't exactly know what the cargo is until, like, after something that happens later on. Let's talk about some general information first, before we start talking about Anya. The game is an indie game. It's classified as an indie horror game. The game has an analysis timeline, meaning that there are flashbacks before and after a crash into an asteroid, which was caused by the co-pilot Jimmy after Curly found out about his assault on Anya. That is going to be a heavy topic. I should have said this before. I'll put it on like a little card. But as the player, we are under the assumption of it being Curly's fault up until the latter half of the game. Some things that happened before the crash, Anya took the psyche valves of each passenger except Jimmy and herself, and that should be noted for later. The crew had a mutual trust before the crash, up until Jimmy's essay on Anya. The crew is let go by Pony Express midway through their trip to where they're delivering their cargo. Curly found Anya in the cockpit during a mental breakdown. This is when she realizes she's pregnant. This could be one of the causes of her mental breakdown. Before Jimmy found her in the cockpit, Anya hid the gun case in the medical room because she didn't have access to it. Only Curly did, but in case of worst case scenario, she hid it there so Jimmy couldn't get a hold of it. Anya then tells Jimmy of her pregnancy. Jimmy obviously doesn't take it too well by the reaction that Anya gives Curly when he asked how did he react. She basically just said he walked away and ignored it. This is when Curly confronts Jimmy about some things, and Jimmy says he'll take care of it. I don't exactly know what he meant by I'll take care of what, because it's not like Curly told him to deliberately crash the ship, but that's besides the point. So Curly ends up going after Jimmy, like, wait, I'll take care of blank. I don't know what exactly. I think Curly knew that he was going to do something rash, at least. The Templar's ship emergency signals go off because they hit and they made contact with a asteroid, or are extremely close to an asteroid at this point, I suppose. And so Curly goes into the cockpit and tries to steer away from the asteroid, and ends up leaving him permanently immobilized, constantly in pain, and being resorted to immobile. He has no limbs anymore. Well, he has arms and legs, but he has no exterior limbs, like he has no hands, no feet. And he is now self-reliant on painkillers. After the crash, the rest of the crew is slowly running out of their rations, their food supply. A few months in, the crew resorts to drinking mouthwash, that is their cargo. After the discovery of the cargo, the mouthwash, one by one, the crew members slowly started dying off. First Anya from an overdose, then Daisuke from a vent accident, then Swansea from a deliberate shot from Jimmy. He found and opened the gun safe. Then Jimmy, leaving only Curly alone in the chiropod, which is a invention that they had along ship in case something happened and one person could survive and they would go into the chiropod, and that could make them live for an upstart of like 20 years. That is plenty enough time to get back from their course back to Earth. And Jimmy only left Curly because he thought he was doing right he thought he was making everything right by leaving Curly, because he was the previous captain of the ship and nothing bad happened until Jimmy took over, or Jimmy did something to put the input of change the course of the Tuplar. You can tell that I'm a very much Jimmy hater, and I honestly can't see how someone would like him, because there are so many things that he did that were messed up or screwed up throughout the entire game. And I know that Curly's whole aspiration and inspiring quote was, "Our worst moments don't make us monsters," but that does not mean be a monster on purpose or do things that a monster would do on purpose. And then have the absolute balls when Swansea takes an axe to Daisuke's face because he was an absolute self-torture. After his vent accident, he was pretty much gashed open from the waist. So he was in absolute torture. He couldn't stand it anymore. He was slowly bleeding out and choking on his own blood, pretty much. So Swansea just decided to take an axe to it and end it so he wouldn't be in pain anymore. At least Swansea had a frickin' motive. Jimmy did not have one of those. He said it was to take responsibility, but if you wanted to take responsibility sooner before anybody got hurt. All the Jimmy hate was unscripted, by the way. I wrote a general guideline for me throughout this video so I could do this voiceover, because I have to have one of those. If I don't, I'll just ramble on about this is freaking la. But okay, so this is why I highly recommend watching the Cub Scouts, aka that dude's video about this, because he goes a lot more in depth than I'm talking about, and obviously you have the gameplay to go along with that, so you get extra confirmation by the game. But me, you just have a visual drawing of Anya, one of the characters from the story. Not saying that I don't like this drawing, I absolutely love it. I really just didn't want to draw sad Anya for this, because I hate seeing her sad, and oh boy, how she goes is exactly that. It's extremely sad. Not to mention she was pregnant while it happened. That's absolutely despicable. And let's talk a bit more of Anya now. Anya's occupation is the nurse of the Tuplar freighter crew. Status, this information is from the wiki. Deceased, OD'd while pregnant. She was also in charge of providing any of the crew with medical care, along with giving them psychological evaluations. It should be noted that hers and Jimmy's psyche evals are missing because Anya's the nurse and she had no one to take her eval, even though she ended up having Curly take Jimmy's eval before the crash. Because Curly knew how much Anya was discomforted by Jimmy at the time. Before the crash, she is a kind, intelligent, determined young woman who has a passion for nursing and a sense of humor, although failing medical school 8 times before her time on the Templar. Before her assault, she was seemingly much lively and trusting of the Templar crew, including Jimmy. She was knowledgeable of the company guidelines as she brought up the safety manual to the Pony Express to find a way to reach the cargo. Reserved and easily nervous after her assault, now soft-spoken, avoiding Jimmy, trying to protect herself by hiding the gun case in the medical room so Jimmy just can't find it, fearing the worst. Post-crash, her mental health also declines rapidly as Jimmy declares himself as self-captain. Anya is prone to breakdowns, experience anxiety, and tends to isolate herself more often, and she watches over Curly but unable to give him his medication due to the sound that he makes while taking the medication makes her nauseous, so she leaves Jimmy to do it. And Anya barely speaks after Jimmy's assault on her voice timid and shaky while speaking to him. She seems to have a sense of humor from the Yimpy sticky note she pinned on her playful teasing of Swansea. That was all from the wiki. Some of the words was what I wrote down, but most of the information came from the wiki. Let's talk about her relations with the rest of the crew. Relations with Curly. Although mostly platonic, there is signs of them having chemistry in the game. Highly shipped by the fandom. Her relationship with Daisuke is one that I can compare to an aunt or even a mother at times. Her relationship with Swansea is one that I can compare to a grumpy grandfather and his granddaughter. That is all I have to say about the game, so I'll let the rest of the time lapse play on. Okay, so this is the final review and my final words about the HOTU 100 marker set. So, I do think these are good markers, and they're really good for their price point. And from what I can tell, they don't have a lot of filler in them, which is amazing. There's a little bit of spotting on this page, but I never noticed any spotting on my actual paper. So maybe it's just the cardstock that they have for the swatch sheet. Sorry, it's late and I'm tired. So, I do think they are really good markers, especially for what their price point was. Like I said, $60 for 100 markers in the alcohol marker realm. That sounds absolutely insane, but they work. So I would recommend this for starter artists who don't want to spend as much money on alcohol markers, especially if they're just dipping their toes into the media. So I would highly recommend these if you're a starter artist and you just want to dip your toes into the media. Heck, even if you're an intermediate artist like me, I would highly recommend these. They're really good markers. They come in a good shade range. I don't see a lot of overlap with other colors. I think they're really good. Also, I'm just amazed by like the price point and like how many you got for that price point. So yeah, I can highly recommend these markers, but let's talk about the drawing that I did with these markers and a few other things from what I've collected over the years. So I drew Anya from Mouthwashing, and I'm going to be doing a voiceover of her lore, so I don't want to talk too much about her actual character, but she's from the game Mouthwashing. It's an indie game, and it's a really good game. I would recommend playing it or watching someone play through it, and if I was to recommend someone to watch to play through it, it would be Jay from the Cub Scouts. Mostly because I think he caught on to the lore most out of any other content creator that I've seen play through this. This is also a recommendation through one of my friends, like my IRL friends. They were like, you should really like watch someone or like play Mouthwashing. It's a great game, and for an indie game, it has amazing storytelling, and I do believe this game has amazing storytelling. So I really like this drawing. I did 3 drawings of Anya. It does technically classify under psychological horror, because nothing like super scary happens. It's just mostly things that the characters do, and like they're psychologically unwell. Or yeah, I would say that. And then I did some quotes from Anya, or just from the game in general. I don't remember who said this quote exactly because it's been a few days since I watched a playthrough. I hope this hurts. And the ones in pink are from Anya. If you look really, really close, you can see there's a dead pixel in the upper right corner. He doesn't want to keep still anymore. Happy birthday, Captain! And I also drew the mouthwash from the game. This mouthwash used to be really busted in the sketch, but I fixed it, so yeah. And then I drew the game logo. I really like everything that's here, so yeah, I can highly recommend this drawing and then checking out my Instagram. This is the first time I've ever like vocally said something about like a self-promo, I suppose. Instagram bonus about this sketchbook, it's in 8:8, which means it's in like a perfect square format. So that's Instagram's like post format, which is really great. I hope y'all have a good day, and I hope y'all tune in next time to watch whatever I post next.